don't be fooled when people say stuff like that. It comes from a negative place, from what they probably heard from their grandparents and so forth. It is negative and it is racist. I don't want to hear unconscious bias. It is racist. They just don't realize it. So that's sorry, I'm quite passionate about that one. But yeah, I think there's a lot of like initiatives, a lot of people in really senior roles, which is really, really powerful. I can see representation. I can aspire to be something more. I can aspire now to be a CEO, to CMO.
Absolutely.
Like before, being in hospitality, are you mad? I don't want to be in that environment where everyone's looking at me and like, okay, so you're going to solve all the black people's problems. Do I look like I'm like God? Like I don't have those results. I can speak for myself and I can give a voice, but as you know, as with every race, there's differences, there's different cultures, there's different religions, there's different traditions, you know. Africa's a big continent. Even in the Caribbean, there's so much difference, you know. So it's definitely moving forward. It's an easier industry to navigate, and I'm proud to be in it now, I would say. And I think there's a lot of initiatives. My only gripe is there's a lot of talk. And because the industry is so powerful, and the industry has so much money, there's a lot more that can be done. And that gripes me, because like you're in a position of power and you're not using it, or you're choosing not to use it.
Which leads me beautifully onto my
question. Lord.
Black Lives Matter caused a cultural shift in a lot of industries, particularly in the media industry. So how would you say that broadcasting of that movement impacted you?
So I guess there was a lot to unpack. So in terms of like obviously George Floyd's death, I didn't watch that. And I didn't even know it happened, to be honest, because that was the whole COVID time where I just stopped watching the news, sort of what was happening in the world. And I remember a friend calling me, oh my God, you have to watch the news. I'm like, no, I don't have to watch the news. I don't want to hear about how many people have died. I don't want to be here, like I have to wear a mask. I don't want to know. She's like, no, you need to watch it. So I didn't watch it, but I heard it. And I think probably hearing the voice note, like the audio, was probably worse than actually watching it, because I made up the story. And I just thought, we're here again. First of all, I'm not surprised, no offense. I'm not, because it happens all the time. But I guess the shift in terms of people's perception, like the movement in terms of people marching and people like rallying behind it, at first I was like, okay, maybe things might change. Maybe there's a shift. And then it went quiet, and I was like, okay, so what are we doing next? What's going next? And you've got your black squares, and you've got we stand with you, and you're united, and let's do, and then it goes quiet. And then we're here again.
Yeah, which links back to your point about it being a lot of talk, and then what?
Yeah.
What's next?
Yeah, I think the media has a lovely way of positioning black people, so we're talking about black issues, black people in a negative way. You know, they talked about him being a criminal, they talk about all his backstory, and I'm like, the man's just died. Like, let's just keep it at that. Somebody has killed him purely because they didn't value his life. Let's focus on that rather than what he did before. If he was a criminal, that's not anyone's business right now. Something serious, detrimental. Somebody in power has taken their abuse and used it to kill somebody. Like, that's what we need to be focusing on. And then, obviously, brands and people get on board. I remember going back onto social media, kind of come up a bit, and obviously all those black squares. I'm like, what is... Great, no, it's fine. It was fine. Great, you all did this. I thank you, support. And I remember Neighbours, Neighbours, yeah. They posted a saying, oh, we stand with you, and da-da-da-da. Has anybody seen black people in Neighbours?
Or First Nations people.
Or First Nations. Have anybody? Please don't do Neighbours. Please don't do this, okay? This is not what we want. And just little things like that. It's just, I'm going to be honest, I'm just tired. I am tired of having to explain. I am tired of having to educate. I am tired of having to talking. Just do it.
So on the hashtag Black Square, hashtag Black Squares Matter.
Yeah. Squares Matter. That's great. I love it, but it's great. But yeah, this is what we have to butter with.
And all that performative activism.
Yeah.
What are your suggestions then to everyone here listening to make sure that we take suitable, meaningful steps to authentic, genuine allyship? Like, how do we demonstrate it?
It's a tough one because I just want people to just be human, like treat people as human beings. Like that's all it is. Like I don't have to, if I meet somebody from a different race, I will just treat them as that person. We talk about their culture, that's different. But why is there a barrier? Like why do I have to tell you how to be a human being and talk to me and address me as a normal, but about me besides my race, that you feel that you don't know how to approach me, you don't know how to, I know I'm loud, but you don't know that, but when you first see me, you don't know that. So naturally, when you like, why do I have to educate you? Not you personally, of course, because I love you, but why do I have to sit and explain myself? Why do you just don't get it? Not you, okay, not you, okay. Why do people just not get it? Like, is it not just part of being human? I don't know.
Absolutely.
I think probably just being aware as well that everybody lives different lives and everyone has different experiences, and that your own personal experience is not the only way. And just being open-minded, I think that's probably the best thing I would say.
So in your opinion then, what do you think are the main barriers for brands or businesses that have perhaps lost a bit of momentum in their approach to DE&I?
Okay.
Gone off the boil a little bit.
You want me to be honest, don't you?
Yes, please.
I don't think they care. Simple as that. Like, if you care about something and if you know the value of something, you will invest in it. So when you see brands investing, they obviously care, or they want to look good. Could be either way. But if you dedicate time, like if you anything in your life, if you dedicate time to being healthy or reading or learning, it's because you want to, because you see because you understand what the impact is. If these brands are choosing not to, it's because they don't see the value in it.
Is there a lack of public scrutiny though, or is it that they're just afraid to do or say the wrong thing? Do you think that's what's slowing progress?
Yeah, so there definitely is a fear, and I don't want to offend people, I don't want to be called racist. People are afraid of being called racist. They're more concerned about that than actual racism happening. So I get that. There's like, I don't want to say the wrong thing. But if you're having the right people in the room, you won't say the wrong thing because you have a conversation. You'll be talking to different people. You'll have diverse voices. You'll have lived experiences. So even if you come up with an idea, somebody in the room will be like, maybe not. Let's try it this way. So I think, but you're right. Definitely the scrutiny is not there because there's not this huge wave of, a merger that people is front of mind. So yes, they're like, okay, let's move on to the next because and they don't see like, when I went to a session the other day and it said like, I think it's £65 billion was spent on like rehiring talent because people have left the industry because of racism. That's a lot of money. Yeah. So why not invest that in onboarding the right talent, making them feel welcome, making them belonging, like help them, support them, progress them and develop them so they stay and feel comfortable. But that's my opinion, by the way. I don't know. Yeah. You could ask them, and that's how I see it. For me, like if you're not with us, you're against us. That's what it is.
So, what are the opportunities do you think available to media and ad agencies through taking part, particularly in Black History Month? What could they be capitalising on? What could they be losing?
So I guess not just focusing on Black History Month. Like it has to be within. Like it has to the talent. Yeah, talent has to be coming. Like you have to get the right talent. Obviously, don't just hire someone because they're black. Like that's another thing as well. When they're there, make sure they're supported. Educate yourself. Like there's enough resources. There's enough community groups. There's enough of a network to get them in. Like and I think rather than asking us to talk in February or October, ask us to talk on subjects that are not black related. Like they're just in general, like talk to me about motherhood. I'll talk to you next. Do you know what I mean? Like something that's not interesting. Not you personally. But like health and shut down. But no, things like
talk about any
let's talk about the media, but like talk about like programmatic, talk about like publish, talk about that, like get black people in those conversations and not centered around being black. Like we have other experiences. We have other talents. We're multi-talented. But don't get me wrong, if you want to talk to me about black people. But yeah, like, there's like, you know, don't just wait until Black History Month to get us involved in the conversation. Like, we want to sit at the table, as with everybody else, by the way. So yeah.
So as our resident official TED Talk speaker, what words of motivation or encouragement would you give to the team to make sure that DE&I is at every touch point in our business and our daily lives?
That title's quite scary with that whole TED Talk about. That's throwing me right now. That's a lot of pressure.
Pop that on your CV.
Look, as I said before, like, just be open-minded. Just like, I guess maybe check your own biases first. Like, really take a look at yourself. And we all do, by the way. There's nothing wrong with that. It's how you act on them. Mm-hmm. So open your mind, open your surroundings. I'm not saying you need to take a trip to Jamaica and then chill with the yard man. I'm not saying that.
Oh,
you know?
that would be.
Well, I'm not saying that.
I'm not
going to be authentic. I'm not saying go down Peckham and chill with the roadman. Like, don't do that. Be careful, right? But what I'm saying is open your sphere of like influence. Read a book. You know, Google, YouTube. I don't want to be educated anymore. I've done my bit for society. Okay, I've told you all what needs to be done. It's your time. But at the same time, everybody, not just me, like, I have to educate myself. There's community groups that I don't understand. It's not for them to tell me how to kind of, you know, it's for me to take it upon myself as a human being that we share this planet. We all do, it's all our home. You know, we all live together. Not literally, obviously. But to do the work, like, everybody has to do the work. The world is changing, the world's evolving, and we as people have to do that. So it's everybody's responsibility to learn.
Absolutely. Thank you. You're amazing. Now let's open it up to you. Do you have any questions at all for Charna? Go on, Alex. First time in the air. Go on, Alex.
First one's going to be a statement. As you guys know, I did my stint in the education system. It was very difficult to persuade people not to focus every October on people that work for Britain.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you said, yeah, okay, Rosa Parks is important, but she's going to come up in every corner of your life and you will then. But are you going to know about the Bristol bus riots? Are you going to know about No Blacks, No Dogs, No Irish? Are you going to know about Benjamin Zephaniah and actually Diane Abbott and all these people who are so important in Black British culture? And that was something that I fought so hard for, and I have left. And I can tell you now, it was Nelson Mandela, it was Martin Luther King, and it was Rosa Parks.
Bob Marley's on the list now, by the way. Just so you know. He's on there now.
Me and Bob Marley have difficult relationships. It's a white Peter.
That is for another session.
But my question to you, it's a little bit personal, but I'm going to ask it anyway, is do you think that part of your growing up experience was because you lived in a more white place?
Yes.
And how do you think that will differ to your daughter's experience now?
Definitely 100% different. So where we live, there is a mixture of people, and I love that for her. She would come from telling me a different language or talking about like the Lunar Year they celebrated it before. Growing up for me, it wasn't predominantly, but it was obviously more, I think it definitely shaped my view of the world. I'll be very, 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 very honest. I generally felt like all white people were racist and didn't like me. I did. And I had a little bit of fear in me growing up. Like, oh my God, I don't know when I'm walking to a room what's going to happen. I'll be honest, I wouldn't travel to Europe. I'm like, are you crazy? Like, is it safe? Do they like black people? And it's a real burden. And even like at 30, whatever I am.
30-ish.
30-ish, yeah, 30. I still, like, I'm uncomfortable sometimes in certain spaces. I remember I had a job a while back and there was an event, it was a golfing event. And I was like, I'm not sure I want to go because obviously I'm sure people know what, it's quite elitist, it's quite white, middle-aged. And I was like, I'm not sure where I want to go. I didn't go in the end, but I remember there was a group chat and there was the compare was saying some quite derogative jokes. And like, oh yeah, and in the group chat, everyone was like okay with it. And I remember then we did like a retrospect, and I was like, this isn't okay. And one of the ladies said, no, but that's just how he is. That's how he talks. And I was like, what do you mean? It's like, oh, that's the time he was from. So I turned around because then I was very hurt, and I was like, oh, it's the time when you guys were spitting in my face, the times when you were running around the street with a baton, the times when you threw bricks through the window, like times when we weren't allowed to go in certain people. That's okay. Like, no. Like, so what is it then? Let's unpack this. Yeah. And then I kind of sort of told her about how I was feeling. And then she started crying. Oh my God, I can't believe this. What do you mean you can't believe? I just told you. And you just said that was the time. And she turned it on her. And it happens a lot of, we as black people express how we're feeling. And then our white counterparts take it on themselves and make it about them. And it's like, okay, do I condone you now? Like, or does someone, like,
who's the victim?
Yeah. And I don't want to be a victim, but it happens. And even now it happens, 2023, and it happens a lot. People just, I guess, some of us have just become numb to it, so we just kind of let it go over our heads. So. Thank you, Abby.
Any more questions? Georgia?
I have a question about your daughter.
Yes.
Can I see the picture? So you said that you identify yourself as Jamaican.
Yeah.
It made it easier for you
Yes.
as like an identity growing up. Was wondering, is that something that your parents or your mother sort of helped you and guided you through? And do you feel like you have to do the same with your daughter now in like the time that she's going to school and where she's going to school?
Yeah. So
do you feel like does she see herself as British, or does she feel like she can be herself?
Yes, definitely my parents very much drilled in that you are Jamaican, like this is who you are. So, we speak patois, we eat the food, we do the tradition, and obviously my grandparents are here as well, so we have a lot of us, so yes. And I guess maybe it's a protection for us, like, yeah, we're Jamaican and what, say something. So it's like, we're right. So for Asia, which is my daughter, my partner's from Sierra Leone, and I'm Jamaican. So we say that she's Afro-Caribbean, if you like. I'm going to be honest. I want her to say that she's Jamaican. I'm not going to lie. I do want her to say that. But I think because of her exposure to everyone else, and I think for her, maybe she might feel more British because she's kind of probably going to be allowed to be British. She may identify that. But I am going to push it that she's Jamaican. Because, so yeah.
Any other questions?
No, it's all right.
Yeah. So, as someone that wants to be an ally, I'm very aware that I want to make sure that what I say is encouraging. And I had we had earlier where I would ask for advice, and I also know it's not your place to always be that person.
Yeah.
You want to get the right opinions and voices. How do you have any advice on how to manage that?
So I guess if you're supporting somebody who's black, like for instance, if you're managing someone, the main thing is to listen. Like, generally listen. You're not going to understand it, and they're not here for you to understand it, but if they want you to see them. So, from personal experience, I kind of had some experience in terms of like racism, and I shared it with my manager, and her response was, but I don't see you. I don't see colour. I don't see you as black. And it's like, so what do you see me as then? Well, we look at the same thing, and it's like, if you don't see me as being black, you don't see my pain, you don't see my separation, you don't see the oppression, you don't see my experience. So you have to see that person as they are. Being an ally, we don't have a problem asking. Like, ask the question, because if you don't ask, you don't learn. It's how, and it's the intent behind it that you do it. So, like if you're like, you being black and all, yeah, you could tell me, like, that kind of behaviour is wrong. But if you say, look, I want to do something about this, does this sound right? That's fine. Because no one's going to judge you or begrudge you for asking the question. It's always that intention and that intent behind it. Like, what do you really want behind it? So, but again, that's my experience. So. It's all right.
Okay.
Can I just following on from that, sort of how that might be as simple as just call it out, but if we see unconscious bias or up to out and out racism going on, is it as simple as calling it out, or is there something else we can be doing? Or do we just, the more we all call it out and bring it out to the open, we can start to re-educate those people and readdress?
I definitely think calling out, I think if you call it out, it's going to get more, it's going to have more weight. If I say it, they're just going to be like, oh, it's the race card again. Oh, don't be so sensitive, you know, don't be aggressive, you know. So yeah, if you see it, definitely call it out. However, I understand like sometimes people might not feel safe to do it, and I recognize that in some situations, like in a client meeting or something like that, you're probably not going to be able to do that, and I recognize that. But you can certainly still support afterwards. But 100%, like you have to, you're either with us or against us. Literally, that's how I see that. But I understand at the same time, that's quite difficult to actually call it out and actually stand up and kind of like, because maybe from your perspective, it's like, how are people going to then perceive you? You know? So I recognize that, but I would ask that you to call it out. Yeah.
Anyone else? Okay, well, thank you. Thank you so much, Sarah.